Streets and Scholars, Alex Alonso and FG here to bring you guys another banger. I'm with the East Side General, man, and hey man, how was the weekend?
Oh man, weekend cool, man. You know what I mean? Everything good. How you doing today?
Oh man, everything's good, man. You wanted to talk a little bit about where we went. Was that on Saturday? Where did we go on Saturday?
Oh man, the big homie Stanley Pitts, homie, passed away. So, his services was on Saturday, man. So of course, out of respect and love and me growing up, being up under the dude, you know what I mean? It was only right, man, that we go pay our respects.
Yeah, definitely. It was like a hell of a show out from OGs that go back to the first generation Pyrus, man.
No doubt, man. That was for me. That was wild. Just to even see that these dudes is doing good, man, and most of all living their life and things of that nature, man. But I just don't believe that when it started, Alex, that they believed that it would expand like it did. You know what I mean? And but yeah, it was good to meet these dudes, man, and see these cats.
Yeah, there's no telling that what they started in 1970 was going to become a global, international phenomena. Being one of the oldest blood neighborhoods in Los Angeles, starting right there on Pyru Street on the west side of Compton, it turned into something that people around the world recognize.
No doubt, but let's be clear, Alex, and the original intent, wasn't to be what it came to be. You know what I mean? Back then, even when I was coming up, the street life and the gang life was basically about protecting your neighborhood. You know what I mean? It was all about protecting the neighborhood. And when people came to your neighborhood, you made sure that, Miss Johnson can walk to the store and the little kids can play on the streets. You know what I mean? So you held your neighborhood down. You know what I mean? So I believe that a lot of people that, don't know the history of, why we was repping a set from, in the beginning, I think sometimes they get it twisted with just, violence and negativity. And in actuality, that wasn't the reason it started. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to be clear on that. But at the same time, man, it did lead to what it was, man. And like you said, it became a global phenomenon, man. And I just know that, these dudes didn't know that it would take off like that.
Yeah, one of the stories that I hear is that the Pyru Street Boys was minding their business back in 1970, 71. And it was the Crips that used to come down there and try to tell them what to do and how to do it. And they was just like, hey, hold up. We got our own thing over here. We the Pyru Street Boys. We're not trying to be nothing else but the Pyru Street Boys. And because of that Crip movement into their area, that's when the conflict started. And, so they didn't really go out looking for conflict in the first generation. It came to them.
Oh, no doubt, but that Crip movement was something else though. They it took off like a whirlwind, man, and they was smashing everything in their way, and you either gonna get on board or you gonna get out the way. You know what I mean? So, that's exactly how it was, man. But like I say, man, it's crazy how after all these years, after 50 years or more, that these factions are still around, man, and unfortunately, a lot of it then took a turn for the worse based on, because the violences came, used to didn't be, a lot of fighting. Used to be, you fighting over territory. Somebody might get stabbed or hit with a stick or bat or something. But, now these dudes are just totally different, but at the same time, man, it was good to meet the originators, man, and, just have a talk with them and be able to, say that where I come from, homie, I know the founders, I've met them, I've, spent some time with them, man. And that's what it was for me.
Yeah, man, I'm actually going to say I had an opportunity to meet LB, Lorenzo Benton, and face to face. Now, this is a brother that I've known for probably a decade because we used to correspond with each other back and forth in prison, but we never actually was face to face until that day. I had a opportunity to go holler at him, and we had a cool conversation, and bro was down since 1976. So I don't know how many years he did. He got out last year. What's that, like 40 something years, man?
Yeah, I think he did 44, man. That's a very long time. A lot of people on Streets and Scholars, say, it's for nothing in the world would they do that kind of time or, do something to get that kind of time, man. But, like I say, man, these guys were line pushers in Compton back in the early 70s when the Crips was coming through like a whirlwind, man. And, things happen, so, like I say, I'm not sitting here glorifying the negative aspect of it, but when it started, man, they was holding down their side, Compton, for show, making sure that, the buck stops here, man. And, so, but Big LB, man, is definitely, man, one of the originators. So, man, yeah, it was good meeting him again as well.
Yeah, man. So yeah, it was a great meeting of all kind of cats from all different types of generations, and rest in peace to the OG Stanley Pitts, man. And I always, every time his name comes up now, the first thing I think about is reading your paperwork, man, because they actually was talking about him in your paperwork. I just can't get over. They had a whole little paragraph on him. He had nothing to do with your case, but the feds felt like they needed to throw him in there.
Hey man, that's how they do it. You know what I mean? And speaking of, we got the feds have been highly active. And, I remember the feds didn't come around like that. The feds was on, working on the mafia and working on, big crime, and it's crazy how today, Alex, they like local police. You know what I mean? They infiltrating neighborhoods and they swarming around the neighborhoods, getting, dudes who, I felt that they shouldn't be, going to the feds for what they going for, man. But these feds is just, they just changing the game up, man, and just coming straight to the hood to get you, So it wasn't like that back in the day. You really had to be an organized crime syndicate or, some kind of, big time, gang organization. But now, man, you can just be an individual, man, and they getting all the information, man, they can even on everybody. So it's crazy how they doing it nowadays.
Yeah, the feds are using RICO on neighborhood gangs, and we all know RICO was designed for the Italian mafia. It was designed, I believe, 1970. Those laws were written for the 5 crime families. The RICO was specifically for the mafia, and now, I mean, your hood can get hit with a RICO now, which is crazy.
No doubt. You know what I mean? That's why we get on here and we preach what we preach. And, I get on my channel and I say what I say, and watching some of the things that's happening now, we hoping that these dudes are seeing that how easy it is. I mean, if you don't learn from nothing else, go check out the Mad Ronald case. You know what I mean? It's a classic example of, and even though that was a Georgia State RICO, it's a classic example, man, how they'll pull you in, make you out to be something, and then book you on it. So, y'all got to be careful out there nowadays, man.
Yeah, and speaking of Mad Ronald, he's serving his time now in the state of Georgia. He's at his penitentiary. I just shot him a few dollars through the method that he asked for. And if you're interested, you want to support the homie, because Mad Ronald been on this internet he's been trying to preach, since the beginning of when he jumped on the internet. And I could sit here and say he's 100% innocent of those charges, but he had to take that 5-year deal because he didn't want to take that 30-year or 20 years or 25 years, whatever they was trying to give him. Because he ain't never stepped a foot in Atlanta and Georgia.
Right.
So yeah, it's crazy that these RICOs and these conspiracy laws can get you caught up like that. And I still think people are a little confused on how easy it is to get caught up in a conspiracy.
Man, it's easy as well. This is the thing about it. The problem is that 30 years ago, you would have asked the homie, they wouldn't even know how to get in touch with the FBI. You know what I mean? Didn't even have no way to get in touch with the FBI. You know what I mean? So now, these dudes are like, Alex, these dudes are really connected to FBI agents. They really can call or text an agent on his phone. Like I said, just so much different now, man. They can email them and all these things, so they getting firsthand information off the street when it wasn't like that 30, 40 years ago, so that's the problem. It's not the feds. I'm always say, what I mean? Me personally, I don't think the feds is do no hell of a job at the investigating. What they do, man, is they do. I mean, when I'm talking about in the in the hoods, what they do, homie, is they just get somebody that's gonna tell them everything. You know what I mean? They don't have to do no all the time, put no hell of a investigative devices nowhere and all that. They got a homie that's gonna tell them everything right then and there, man.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to talk about a couple Fed cases today. We're going to talk a little bit about Lil Boosie, who just got out, that he's under a federal case. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Brooklyn rapper Casanova, who he's under a federal case as well. We're also going to talk a little bit about YNW Melly, Ja Morant's NBA suspension for 25 games. And then they hit Taxstone, the podcaster from New York City, with 35 years. We're going to get into all of that. But I wanted to also shout out another person that passed a couple weeks ago is Babo, Braulio Castellanos. He's a well-known dude from Florence 13. He was a member of the Mexican Mafia, and he was doing a life sentence. So the CDC released him on compassionate release because of a medical situation in May, and about a month later he died. So I guess the doctors of the CDC knew he was going to die shortly, so they let him out. And he was the one that was very instrumental in the truce between the East Coast Crips and the Florence 13s. In fact, he's the one that started the whole thing.
Oh, okay. That's what's up. I had heard his name. I didn't actually know much about him, but I had heard his name over the years, man. And like you said, I did hear that he was influential, and and trying to get that beef. I ain't gonna call it settled, but they came to agreement that they wasn't gonna be so active with it. You know what I mean? And if he definitely did that, man, I mean, to be honest with you, that's a win-win. So I never can go against that, man. When somebody talk about bringing peace together between some rival, neighborhoods, and man, that's really what's up. It need to be more people out there that's instrumental, and and I know it's a lot of bad blood and a lot of bloodshed over the last 50 years, man. But at the same time, man, we got to start looking at and waking up and and trying to bridge this gap, man. And try to do the same thing he did.
Yeah, man, I was hoping that this was going to create like a whole movement between Mexican gangs and black gangs in LA, because after that truce, when that truce took place, I reached out to Babo because he had a burner phone in his cell at Solano prison, and I asked him if he could do some other truces. So eventually we did the truce between the neighborhood Pyrus, Queen Street, and Inglewood with the I-13s, because they had been going at it for I don't know how long they've been going at it, but hey, we did the same thing with that the East Coasters and the Florences did, and he made that happen, which was incredible. And then once that happened, I was like, oh, we're about to bring all these sets together. And it was a trip. There's a lot of people was upset saying that, how can you bring black and Mexican gangs? And this was something that Lil Doc Don from East Coast went through. How can you even start a truce between a Mexican and a black when you still got black on black conflict still going on?
Well, you got to look at it like this, you know what I mean? Sometimes the way your neighborhood is bordered, it may not be bordered with just one gang. It may be bordered, you have multiple enemies when you out there, you know what I mean? And you may be able to bridge the gap between an enemy on one of your borders, but not quite with the enemy on the next border, but at the same time, man, when you get to talk about saving lives and saving kids' lives, it really don't matter, so if you was able to line it up, with the Mexican gangs first, and get that truce done, and you guys can drive to their neighborhood to go to the supermarket, or they can do the same and things of that nature. They mama can come over and go to the bank over in your neighborhood and things of that nature, man. Then that's all for the good. So at the end of the day, a lot of people think black and brown, but it's sometimes, homie, is man on man, So if you could stop some killing, stop some violence, coming from any other race or ethnicity, then shit, that's all for the good, man.
Yeah, and I'm not like naive to think that, oh, Babo was doing this completely out of the goodness of his heart. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. It didn't really matter to me because he was doing it, and he was doing something that nobody else in the Mexican Mafia was doing. So I commend him for what he did in 2019, and he completely supported it. And here's another thing that I had a lot of conversations with Babo. One of the conversations I had, and this goes back to the feds, and I think this is what really motivated him to want to do this truce. He said the FBI came to his cell in Solano and said that the conflict between the East Coasters and the Florences is just getting out of control. There's too many innocent people dying on both sides, because we don't often talk about this, but a lot of times you don't get your man, you get the bystander,
right,
or you think he's a Crip but he ain't a Crip, or you thought he was an SA and he wasn't,
right.
So the feds took photos of all these victims and to his cell and said, this is your fault, man. And I think he realized that if he didn't stop this, they were going to re-indict him, and he would end up being in Florence, Colorado, like they done to so many other inmates. So he actually told me he enjoyed living his life in Solano, and he did not want to go to the feds. He actually feared being sent to Florence, Colorado. Man, have you ever heard crazy stories about what life is like in Florence, Colorado?
Yeah, no doubt. You know what I mean? Big homie, Big Ace from Ludus Park, he was over there in Florence and ADX, you know, over there with Larry Hoover and them, man, you know, so I got to sit down with him, and he told me plenty of stories about it, you know what I mean? I believe the homie from East Coast I was in Victorville with, he was down there for a minute, you know, so yeah, I heard dudes that was personally down there, man. You know, and the thing about it is, like you say, when you're doing, you know, a stretch, man, you know, you don't want to do your time like that, you know. But at the same time, I ain't gonna use the term to say he was scared. I must use the term, Alex, and say he just didn't want to have to, you know what I mean, go down there and deal with that bullshit when he was comfortable where he was at, you know, because it's clear this dude was a reputable dude, you know what I mean. So of course, who want to go down there in the cold and deal with that, and your family's still in California and things of that nature. But if he was able to really pull some strings and pull this together, man, then, hey, you know, that's what's up.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't using the word fear in the literal way, just the idea of being there, because I know for a fact this dude feared nothing throughout his whole life. You know, he already established, proved that you know, he was with the business from day one. He was sentenced to life back in 1988. So I used it in a non-literal sense, but I just wish more people like Babo would step up, more people, because we can't talk about black, brown. You know, there's a lot of people on the internet talking about, oh, I support black, brown, I support black, brown. But the only way you can even make a dent on this black, brown is tapping in with people from prison on the Mexican side, because it ain't gonna happen without the support from the guys in prison. And I don't see any of these guys that support black, brown tapping in with anybody in prison to get the movement going.
No doubt, but it ain't an easy task to do. You know, it's something that's a tedious operation. It's a tedious, you know, a technical thing that, you know, you got to navigate through. And the thing about it is, you know, everybody out here living their life, Alex. Everybody out here, you know, now it's a me. You know what I mean? It's not about the homie no more. You know, we grew up, bro. You know, your homie was your brother. And you showed that because you put your life on the line for him. You know, now it's just the demographics is different. You know what I mean? And the it's not like people care like that anymore. They say they do, but they don't show it. They don't send their own homies $15 in jail. You know what I mean? They don't make a list and say, okay, I got $100. I'm gonna send 5 people $20. You know, they don't even do that with their family. So, you know, to try to get the thing going with the truth or with the brown, you know, I get it. It's a tedious thing, but like you say, some people, Alice, they don't care enough. They say they do, but they don't. You know what I mean? So. But it could be done if somebody just, you know, really took the measures and pushed that push and fight that fight. But, you know, at the same time, like I say, man, everybody claim to be living their lives and don't care like they used to.
Yeah, man, I actually reached out to Babo on the 18th Street conflict with the Bloods, and he said, all right, let's make it happen. And I tapped in with 2 of the shot callers over there. I don't want to say shot callers, but let me say 2 of the more influential guys in the jungles, who were both just both passed on us. Lil Bop got killed, and Kaz died. And these 2 guys actually came to a meeting, and we talked about, hey, are you guys down to end the beef with 18th Street? Because it started in the jungles. So if the jungles wasn't on board, then it wasn't going to happen. And we got to having a few conversations, man. And then, you know, COVID hit. And now we lost both of the dudes from the jungles, man, that were the influential voices over there. But it doesn't mean it can't happen, man. Hopefully, maybe some of those guys in prison are listening and say, hey, you know, I want to step up the way Babo did and bring some peace to some of these neighborhoods in Los Angeles, man. And if you do, if you're down with it, reach out to me, give me a call, and I'll definitely do my best to make it happen. So
that's what's up.
All right, so let's talk about YNW Melly, man. Remember last week I told you that the defense attorney kind of had a theory that he presented to the jury. I didn't get to play that clip. I didn't have it queued, but I want to play that clip and then get your reaction to it, because it is interesting, because he kind of low key, the lawyer is, I guess, But at the same time, you got to say that YNW Melly is agreeing to this strategy. But let me play this clip and get your whole opinion on it. But here we go.
Those were not Mr. Demon's lives. Those were his lives. Cortland Henry shows up at Memorial Hospital, Miramar. You don't see him sitting there, but where you will see him sitting is in the driver's seat of a car with 2 dead bodies, car riddled with bullets. And when he shows up with a change of clothing, change of shirt, gunpowder residue on his hands, evidencing that he had discharged a firearm. And he lies. He lies about where the incident occurred. He lies about how it occurred. And he lies about not having a phone. I think it was Miss Bradley herself who said, everybody has a phone in his pocket, not Cortland Henry. There were 3 phones in that car. There were 3 people in that car.
Okay. Cortland Henry, I guess, is Bortlan, YNW Bortlan. Oops. So he was basically trying to establish that if anyone did anything here, it definitely wasn't YNW Melly. It was probably the Bortlan guy, man. What do you think of that strategy?
I don't like it, but I mean, I don't like it. You know, anytime you insinuate something about somebody else, I don't like it. There could be other ways that you could say that your man, you know, didn't do this and couldn't have did that. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it seemed like they kind of pointing stuff in a direction over there with Bortlen, you know what I mean? And that's something, man, that I can't agree with. I can't get on board with that. You know, and then, like I say, you sit there and say my client didn't, you know, have a gun, you know, or my client, you know what I mean, fingerprints wasn't nowhere near it. But to insinuate this my co-defendants was, you know, I don't feel that strategy.
All right, let me offer you a theory on this.
Mm-hmm.
Both YNW Melly and Bortlan were able to get their cases severed from each other. They're not.
And that was strange too, though. Yeah.
Well, that's usually a request made by the defense. If you're on the defense, you never want to go to trial with your co-defendant together, because he can make you look bad, you can make him look bad.
Right, so and then they add it all up and hit y'all together.
Yeah, so they were able to get their cases severed from each other, and perhaps they talked about this. Maybe both Melly and Bortlan talked about it, saying, hey, we were successful to get our cases severed. When you go to trial, throw me under the bus. When I go to trial, I'll throw you under the bus, because that's our best way out of this. Because whatever he says about Bortlan in this case does not hurt Bortlan when he goes to trial. And he's not saying it. It's the defense attorney saying it in opening statements, but it's at least, and then they're going to get a different jury when Bortlan goes to trial. So they'll get a whole nother jury and they're going to hear all different evidence. So if they talked about this as a strategy and they plan this out, then how do you look at it that way?
I mean, you know, I like I said, I still don't like it. You know, I've seen the situation firsthand, man. We's in the feds, right? So one of the homies from East Coast went to the 6'9" East Coast, went to the law library, found some paperwork on one of the Crip partners out of Dago, you know, and so thing about it is they had 5 co-defendants on that case and from Dago. 4 of the co-defendants was on the yard with us, you know. So the homie found paperwork that one of the dudes made statements on his brother. So he brought the shit to the yard, you know, talked to a few people. So they approached the homies from Dago. You know, I fucked with them. They good dudes. And so what happened was, man, the older brother told the little brother, you put it on me. And so you can go out there and take care of mom's sick. You go out there and take care of mom. You just tell them it was me, homie. I go do the time, homie. You go home. You know, unfortunately, it didn't work. You know what I mean? One of them got like 35 and then the little brother got like a dub. You know what I mean? So in the paperwork, it says that, you know, I said my brother, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So that would be interpreted as telling, you know, but when you talk to the 2 dudes who involved, hey, bro, if that's what they agreed to, homie, that's what they agreed to. you know, and the rest of their co-defendants, at least 3 or 4 more of them is on the yard. You know what I mean? That's, you know, they had they pack on whatever they had they pack on. So this is a similar situation if that happened. Only thing about it, you know what I mean? You know, you talking about a death penalty case, you're talking about a life sentence case, you're talking about a murder, 2 murders actually, you know, and they not in trial together. You know what I mean? And one not saying, put it on me and it's a different circumstance. I'm not going to throw you under the bus, man, under no circumstances. I'm not going to agree to that. But if that's what they agreed to, then how can I say what their strategy look like? Because it's just them two. You know what I mean? If Melly say, dude ain't telling on me, or Bortlen say, nah, he didn't tell on me, homie, we good. Then that's between them. You know, who am I to, you know, say something about it, to be honest with you.
Plus, they got footage of Bortlen either dropping the victims off at the hospital or driving his car to the hospital or leaving the hospital. So there's a certain amount of evidence that is overwhelming towards Bortlen. So, you know, I'm just throwing that out as a theory. I don't know if they discussed this prior. I don't know if the attorneys all discussed this, that's what they're going to do. But it seems like a good strategy, especially since they were able to get their cases severed from each other. So that means they could say whatever against the other person. And then when he goes to trial, he could say whatever about Melly. And it doesn't hurt them because they have separate trials.
See, I don't believe that, because I still believe that in some kind of way, some kind of circumstances, those papers, you know what I mean, or those testimonies and the things that his lawyer insinuate will be brought back up, whether it's on TMZ, whether it's on Streets and Scholars, whether it's on anything on the internet. So those jurors, that the new jurors can actually, you know what I mean, you know, they got access to internet too, even though they're not supposed to use it. Come on, man, you know, they still using their phone and looking up shit. So at the end of the day, then, like you say, you know, for me, I'm not cool with it at all if Melly's attorney insinuated anything that Bortlen did, you know, and his client didn't do. You know, like I said, if he insinuated anything about Bortlen, I'm not cool with that at all, by far. Now, if he just said, no, you know, my client wasn't at the hospital, you know what I mean? You know, so yeah, that leaves insinuation that, okay, somebody took him, you know, maybe it was Bortlen, but he's saying my client didn't take him. But if you saying it, if you go back and look, it's only Bortlen that's at the hospital. If you get to doing that, man, I'm not cool with that. That's just me.
Well, we'll see how it works out, because if YNW Melly's found not guilty, and then Bortlen goes to trial, and he can say whatever he wants against. Now he could throw YNW Melly completely under the bus because he's already found not guilty. It doesn't hurt him. So how would you feel about, let's say YNW Melly's found not guilty, and when Bortlen goes to trial, his strategy is to put the gun, just to say everything on YNW Melly, even though he's found not guilty, he'll never be charged again because of the double jeopardy. I think it's a great strategy.
I just don't feel it. You know what I mean? If it work, you know, it work. That's between them, you know, but me personally, I wouldn't take that. I wouldn't even agree with my attorney to take that route. You know what I mean? Because at the same time, if Melly get off and Bortlen get a life sentence, guess what the next headline is going to be? You know what I mean? Melly told. You know, and that's just going to be that. You know, he may not care. You know, like you say, fighting the death penalty, he fighting for his life. You know, people change under those circumstances. You know, a lot of people can hold up against 5, 10, 20 years. You know what I mean? But when you get to talk about that life sentence, bro, you know, it's a game changer.
Okay, so one more issue with YNW Melly. His other counsel, the female defense attorney on his legal team, her name is Raven Liberty. Ever since his motion was denied for a mistrial, her mugshot from a few years ago popped up from a domestic violence case. Do you think this hurts YNW Melly? Because now it's all over the internet that one of his defense attorneys got charged for domestic violence. Now, this case was ultimately dismissed, so she doesn't have any convictions. She didn't go to prison. It was just an arrest. And then they dismissed the case. But how does that make his legal team look in your eyes?
No, it don't make it look bad to me, man. You know, look, we human beings out here. You know, things happen. You know what I mean? Me personally, I wouldn't have cared if she had her arrest from a fight from high school and she whooped somebody's ass and went to jail. You know, people do change over the years. She would have went on, got her degree. You know, got her law degree. You know, became a stand-up citizen. You know what I mean? So me personally, I wouldn't hold that against them. You know, of course, everybody gonna make the jokes. Of course, that's not gonna stop. You know what I mean? And I did laugh at a bunch of the comments that I seen, but for me personally, she wasn't even charged. They did take her mugshot. It's nothing for me, Alex. You know, it's nothing for me. I wouldn't look at the case no different. I wouldn't look at her integrity no different.
Yeah, let me just read a brief paragraph here from an article written on posted to the Hip Hop DX website. It says that YNW Melly's lawyer has gone viral due to a mugshot surfacing online, with many fans implying that the rapper's legal counsel is in jeopardy. The mugshot of Raven Liberty emerged on social media shortly after Melly's counsel was denied its motion for a mistrial during court on Tuesday. Liberty had previously been arrested for a battery in Miami, which resulted in a mugshot being taken. The charges were dropped, but fans unearthed the photograph and began trolling Melly as a result. Let's see here. Yeah, that's about it. I agree with you, FG, that it should not have any impact. But you know, we think differently. You know, what if the middle class white person on the jury learns about this story? They're not gonna think the way we think, man.
I mean, everybody not a criminal, Alex, just because they got a mugshot, you know. But it is some citizens, people out there that feel, you know, for one, they not gonna just talk about her. For one, they have a problem with her defending a guy like Melly, defending a guy like Boosie, defending the guys, you know what I mean, who commit crimes or who are accused of committing crimes. And that's what they have a problem with more than anything. You know, I hear a lot of people that say attorneys, man, you know, a piece of shit. You know what I mean? That's how they feel but everybody has the right to counsel. Everybody has a right to fight their case. You know, unfortunately, everybody is not guilty, you know, so, you know, yeah, you do have those people. You do have people in all races that's going to say, oh, she's a criminal herself. You know what I mean? They're going to say that. But in actuality, bro, you know, just like I know, you know, that things can happen, man. You can get accused of something you definitely didn't do and your mugshot taken and like now it comes back all these years later, man. And, you know, people got jokes and opinions about it. But, you know, I don't. Unmute you.
I don't think it has. It shouldn't have an impact, and even if it does come up during the trial, which it probably shouldn't, but if it does, the judge will tell the jury, "Hey, ignore anything that you've seen or read about the defendant's attorney being arrested for whatever. It's irrelevant to this trial." So. Hey, let's move on to Boosie. Since you mentioned Boosie, man, he was denied bail last week, but the judge granted bail for Boosie, and he should be released. He should be released out of custody by now. I'm not sure if he's actually out, but he was granted a $50,000 bail for this gun case. And what's crazy about it is the prosecutor in this case said that Boosie is a flight risk and should not be released. But his defense attorney said he's been coming to court on time every time he was expected to be here for this gun case, and he's never been late. So how is he a flight risk? And some of these federal prosecutors, man, I think they're a little bit aggressive.
Oh, no doubt, bro. You know, that's the first thing they're going to say, man, if somebody's a flight risk. You know, somebody's a flight risk. Boosie been here probably his whole life, man. You know, and I say here in the United States, you know, and not to mention, you know, he's not from California. So therefore, you know, he's in federal custody in another state. You know, his family, not going to be able to just come see him. His attorneys, you know, probably going to have to fly out here or hire some attorneys from California, you know. So it's a difficult get down. You know, one thing about Boosie, they know that they went back and looked at all his situations. If he didn't have no, you know, going to court from cases way back 10 years ago, 15 years ago, if all his good court dates are in standing, man, they look at all that and take all that into consideration. You know, Not to mention it's a gun case, Alex. You know what I mean? It's a gun case. You know what I mean? It's not like he got a body or, something, attempted murder or nothing. It's a gun case. Now let that dude out of there. He coming back to fight that, So I'd be surprised at how the prosecutors want to hold a dude over a pistol, but that's their job, man. They don't want to see you that, they gonna try to lay you down.
Yeah, man. According to San Diego News, Local 10 CNS San Diego, it says here the Louisiana-based rapper Boosie Badass was arrested in San Diego last month for allegedly being a felon in possession of a gun. What is expected to be released from federal custody following a judge's order Tuesday granting him bail. The 40-year-old rapper, Torrance Hatch, was initially charged by state prosecutors following his May 6 arrest during a traffic stop in the Cholas View neighborhood. Hatch was in San Diego to film a music video and perform later that night. According to one of his attorneys, Megan Blanco, Hatch was prepared to plead guilty in the state case and was expected to be sentenced up to probation. However, the state case was dismissed, and following a court appearance last week, Hatch was arrested on newly filed federal charges. So my question to you, FG, do you really believe that the state was just going to give him probation, and was that just all a ruse just to get him in court feeling good, and it's just so that the feds can get him into custody?
No, not at all. I don't think it's a ruse. I mean, it is possible. Technically, in California and other states, you got ex-con with a gun. You're usually going back to prison. But lately, I've seen dudes, that been out of jail for so long, get deals like that. I mean, I'm sure he got the high power lawyer. I'm sure they looked at the ethics in which they arrested him. I'm sure they took all that into consideration, and maybe a judge was going to give him probation just based on how they got him. He wasn't out in the street waving it around. He wasn't, so they could have took all that into consideration, man, and hit him with a possession and just say, you know what, we will give him probation. Sometime when they give you that probation, with the intent of, we know he gonna fuck up again. You know what I mean? So sometimes, but like you say, this is Boosie Badass, feds may say this our opportunity, if nonetheless, and that's how it goes.
Okay, so then if what you're saying is true, the Fed, let's say he really was going to get that probation, he was really going to get released on probation. That means the feds probably saw that sentence and said, you know what? That sentence is a little too light for Boosie. We're going to take over this case because we want to give him a heavier sentence. Is that possible then?
Oh, highly possible. But the thing about it is they do it every day in the streets. You know what I mean? They do it every day in neighborhoods across Los Angeles, and other states, So like I say, to me, it's no biggie. It's standard operating procedures that I've seen happen many a times. And like I say, they made their decision, man. We want this dude. This our opportunity. Went to the state, let us get that, you know what I mean? And, and they dropped it, and I think as soon as I heard he dropped it, I was like, oh shit, because I seen this move, I kind of felt that it was going to go in this direction.
Yeah. So, we don't know all of the charges that he could be facing, but I was thinking about, if they can prove that he brought a gun from where he lives in Louisiana to California, isn't that an additional charge for transporting a pistol across state lines?
Well, how can you prove that he actually did the transfer over the state lines? Who's to say one of the homies in Cali didn't pull up on him and slide it to him? You know what I mean? They got all those laws in effect, but I'm gonna be honest with you, man. The feds really be tight on they shit. You know what I mean? They don't go in there and just throw it like the state, throw a bunch of shit up against the wall and see what stick. They're gonna charge you what they feel gonna stick. So transferring over the state lines is something that can't be proved. The gun was pretty much made somewhere else, but you can't prove I brought it here. These guys are entertainers, man. And don't get me wrong, I don't feel a guy in Boosie status can walk around without a strap. You know what I mean? I know regular dudes can't walk around without one, so he going around, look, Alex, from state to state, city to city, doing shows. Of course, his security should, be heated, no doubt. You know what I mean? But when you a certain dude, man, you're gonna be like, I can hold my own pistol. You know what I mean? You know, and as well as my security. You know, so I get it 100%. And I think sometimes these when I ain't gonna say these judges and jurors, they get it. You know what I mean? This dude traveled from city to city making a living. He's a known shit talker. You know what I mean? He could have somebody who have a problem with him. You know, this is his profession, you know. And so I believe they'll take some of that into consideration as well. You know, did he need one? Yeah. Was he licensed to have one? No. You know, so you know, I think sometimes, you know, they got a conscience and they look at all that, but they still gonna try to book you when they want you.
Now, here's another question that I have for you, FG. Now, the feds are taking over the state case, so it's all about, I guess, having this pistol showing in a video that was posted to social media. But then when they pulled him over, didn't they actually find the gun in the car as well? So there's a gun in his waistband on his backside, but then they also caught him with a gun in the car. So does that mean that the gun in his waistband, they don't have to worry about proving him whether it's real or not because they got that gun when they pulled him over?
Well, to me, if they ain't read the serial numbers from this picture right here, then how you gonna say it's a gun that, you know, expert gunman can come in there and say, man, it's 1,700 models, you know, or this gun, you know, sold a million copies. You know what I mean? So you can't just say that was the exact same gun. You can't say this is a real or fake gun. The problem I have, this video right here, was this a live video or this was a recorded and uploaded later? Because my whole thing is this: why is if you saw that he had a heat in his bag, why is you filming that he got the heat? Move the camera around so you can't see that. And this why we talk about friends and people around you, and you know, and homies and cameramen and things of that nature, man. If I'm somewhere filming, man, and I see somebody, I'm turning the camera so fast, you know, and that's just how it is. It seems like, you know, I mean, Alex, I can't say, man, that the police department, the feds, or whoever didn't have no inside help on this situation, man. It's just, or you just dealing with reckless people, you know. But for this image right here to be seen, you know, which I feel his shirt should have been over it, or he should have had a longer shirt on and things of that nature as well. But why is you filming this, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if this was a live video. If it was a live video, then there's really nothing you could do about it. But I noticed the video was posted on May 7th, and this whole thing happened on May 6th. Now, I don't know if there's another video that maybe was live, and this person that posted it on May 7th reposted it.
Right.
So that question, I don't know. But apparently when he got pulled over, though, now let me ask you this. It must have been live, because didn't the San Diego PD decide we're going to pull this guy over based on what we're seeing him doing live?
That's what I heard. You know, that's the assumption that I got out of it, you know, that they seen him posting, you know. But how do they track him down from a live post? You know what I mean? And like I said, if they got this technology, if they doing this type of shit, then y'all better beware, man. You know what I mean? Because it ain't him. They just doing it too, you know. That's wild. You know, this whole situation is wild, how they got this dude, you know, and they saying it come from a live Instagram live type shit. So, man, if they can do that legally, you know what I mean, then it's finna get real ugly out there.
Well, I don't think it would be hard to find out if the police are watching Boosie live in San Diego and they know, okay, this looks like a bunch of bloods. Okay, there's a handful of blood neighborhoods. We got patrol units on the streets right now. Any patrol unit, just report if you see a bunch of cars double parked on any block out there with a whole bunch of people outside in the front, because even though this is in the backyard somewhere, you know, there's about 20 homies out in the front on the sidewalk in the street right now at this moment.
Yeah, I can't buy that one, Alex. You know what I mean? I can't buy that one, man. You know, this shit had to be, somebody had to have some more knowledge than that. Somebody had to give them people more pinpoint than that. You know what I mean? It couldn't have just been off that how I feel. It just couldn't have been off, no, man, he did a live and they went and found this dude. I don't believe that at all. I believe there's some help involved one way or the other from somewhere, you know. for what they saying or what you saying, you know, how they may have found to put those kind of resources out there over a pistol case. I don't see it happening, you know. So I believe that somewhere, you know, somebody around him, man, could have been foul and faulty, man. You know, listen, man, you know, you already know I done seen friends, you know, wear wires. So I'm convinced, man, that somebody in his clique or crew, whether it was a homie or security, somebody, man, I really feel, man, set this dude up or got this dude put in a situation. And I believe when he get a discovery, that shit gonna really all come out.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say, because once all that paperwork becomes public, we'll find out. I do think it's possible that the police could have just pulled up on them just based on the attention that they created on the block that they were in. Because, you know, oh, Boosie's in town. You know how many people probably pulled up on that block? They probably shut down 2 blocks because Boosie was in town. And once the police are immediately going to say, wait, what's going on over here? And they call it into the station, and they're like, you know what? That's probably Boosie's video shoot. But I understand, hey, maybe someone did tell. We'll find out real soon.
Well, let's go back real fast and put it in that context that you just had. You got a great point that I didn't look at it from that angle. If they were somewhere like this and the police rolled by and then they determined that this was Boosie, you know, his camp, you know what I mean? Oh, okay, they got Boosie out here. Okay. Police could have sit on that. Then the police, they could have went to his live like that. Said, man, let's check out his live. And then when they seen the gun on the live, called their local station. The bird came up, followed the cars when they left up. Now that's 100%, you know, how it happened. You know what I mean? I just was, you know, when I pictured it in my mind, it was just like they was rolling, going live. And then somehow this helicopter popped out the blue on them. No, but if you put it in a context like that they was hanging out somewhere, police rolled by a few times, noticed it was Boosie and his crew, went to his Instagram, seen that, called their station locally and said, hey man, put a bird in the air when he's do. That's easy to do. That ain't hard at all. You know, that's actually real reality that could happen. You know what I mean? So, I mean, they could do that in any hood all day long, you know? So, by you putting it in that aspect and that content, I can go for that all day long.
I guess we'll find out real soon. I know there's a lot of people on the internet already figuring it out, but I'm gonna wait till the paperwork come out and he starts going to court on this case. All right. Ja Morant, man, 25 game suspension. Was it fair, or is that too much?
I ain't gonna call it fair at all. What I do feel is, to me, 25 games ain't a life-changing event. You know what I mean? You had a situation, you had one back-to-back. The NBA is $1 billion franchise, man. It tries to protect his credibility, is protect their money at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Try to check their name, you know, their brand basically. And so at the same time, when you make the brand look bad, you know what I mean? Okay, we got to do something about it. So 25 game suspension is what he got, you know. Lost a lot of money, Alex. You have any idea about how much money he may have lost?
$7.6 million is what he's going to lose on these 25 games that he's out.
Now, the thing about it is just real quick. I know you might got a clip to play, but check this out. You're going to lose $7.6 million over $1,000 pistol, basically. You know, you're going to lose $7 million, $7.5 million on me because you had a $500,000-$600,000 pistol, bro. I mean, $500-$600 pistol, you know, and that's where, homie, it's going to hurt him. Like, I mean, you know, of course he might be papered up, but to lose $7 million, man, I think anybody lose $7 million, they're going to be upset.
Yeah. I got this clip of Colin Coward. He's pretty, he agrees with the suspension. Take a listen to what he had to say.
So Adam Silver has been viewed through the years as sort of player friendly. Comes down, it feels just about right to me. 25 game suspension for Ja Morant, another transgression off the court. Adam Silver's quote, the potential for other young people to emulate Ja's conduct is particularly concerning. Let me say that again. The potential for other young people to emulate his conduct. That's what worried the NBA. Now, it sends a message, obviously, to Ja. Grow up. Now. You're the face of a franchise. Big boy jobs have, like, standards and repercussions for bad actions. You're a corporation. You're a franchise. Ditch some of your loser friends. They don't have your best interests at heart. That's the obvious stuff. And I often see young fans, not older fans, but young fans say stuff like, it doesn't matter. Come on, man. It's no big deal to you. You're not a star, a face of a franchise, or have a job that has really high standards. The first sign you have a good job in life, it has standards. A principal can't be getting DUIs. A school teacher can't be on OnlyFans. A senior vice president of marketing can't show up routinely late for big meetings. The second sign you have a really good job is that people look up to you, often young people, like a school teacher or an NBA star. Yes, they look up to you, copy you, emulate you, and you have influence on people. Yes, you have influence. An NBA star, a school teacher, a principal. Those people have influence, often on younger people.
Okay, that's about 2 minutes of his 3-minute rant. I don't believe that brandishing a weapon, first of all, it's not illegal. We have a thing called the Second Amendment that allows people to bear arms, especially if they have no criminal record. And it may have been silly in the way he did it. I don't think he needs to be lectured and berated the way Colin Coward is doing and others. And I think Stephen A also went in on him too. I think that he has a right to have his weapon, and as silly as it may have looked to show it on Instagram Live, there's nothing illegal about it, and I don't think it compares to like a teacher, doing pornography on OnlyFans. What say you, FG?
I'm opposite of those feelings, Alex. You know what I mean? I believe, it's his responsibility, you know what I mean, as a young black man in his situation, like they say, the face of a franchise, the face of a corporation, man, to, conduct himself in an appropriate manner, because it is, a lot of positive black kids that's following behind him. It's a lot of positive, not just black kids, period, that's following him, watching him, and like he say, emulating him. I agree with that statement, even though I don't believe that's how they really felt. They just made a good ass statement based on, because it do make some sense to me. People do emulate people, Alex, and unfortunately, people have emulated me in the streets. I've emulated, dudes in the street. You know what I mean? So for kids to watch this, and that's trying to do right and trying to, play hoops and trying to do it right. Yeah, when they see this, man, it confuses them. So I believe that we do lead by example in the things that we do, man, the things that we say, the walk that we walk. I just believe not that the gun was illegal or not that he shouldn't have did it or nothing like that. But I do believe that in the capacity that he's in, the NBA star, where, you get millions of positive people, millions of positive kids looking up to you. I just don't think it was a great look. I'm not talking about the legality of it. I'm not talking about the silliness of it or nothing like that. I don't think he had no ill intent at all. They in the car clowning. So I get that point. But at the end of the day, man, people do emulate people, and, you will see, people copy what NBA stars do, whether it's their earrings or whether it's their shoes or whether it's their hair. People copy and emulate, these and idolize professional athletes. So, like I said, I don't think he did nothing wrong, but I do believe that somebody, some kids will think that that's cool what he did.
Okay, well, if he has the power to influence and people are going to emulate him, then why can't he just make a public statement and say, boys and girls, what I did on Instagram Live the other day was not the most appropriate thing to do. I take full responsibility in what I did, and that is not the responsible way to handle a weapon, and then just go back to work.
I agree with you on that. I could rock with you on that, but unfortunately, like I say, when you get to talking about billions of dollars moving around, it's money, Alex. You know what I mean? It's tarnishing the brand. When somebody come work for Alex Alonso, when somebody come work for StreetTV, let me be honest with you. You want them to conduct themselves in a certain kind of way when they got a StreetTV shirt on. You know what I mean? You don't want to get nobody no StreetTV shirt. The next thing you know, they coming up out the window, busting on some dudes, and with your product on, and they work for you. I mean, that's just really how it is, you know. So because it brings you under the microscope, it brings your integrity under the microscope, and that's how the NBA, you know, feels about it. But I agree with you, man. He should just been able to give an apology, say, you know, listen, my bad, you know, I didn't conduct myself in an appropriate manner, and go back to work, bro. You know what I mean? Not lose a penny, you know. But he just had a situation. These are young kids, you know. We talking from a 50-year-old aspect. You know, these young dudes, man, you know, they don't have that aspect. You know what I mean? They not thinking. That's the problem. You know, when people say, man, what was he thinking? He wasn't, you know. So sometimes it do take a slap on the wrist, you know, in order for a dude to conduct himself right. So if this the slap on the wrist, Alex, that's gonna make him go to his in his future, be as great as he can be, run up the money, you know, for another decade or two, you know, so his whole entire generation of family could be took care of. Hey, then, man, that's what it took.
Yeah, man. Also, those 25 games will make him ineligible to reach any sort of accomplishments, because you have to play. I believe you got to play 57 games in the season to be eligible for the account. Like, let's say it's an all-star, or, you know, the best defensive player of the year.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
They're not only punishing him for the act, you know, the 25 game punishment is more than just the 25 games. It's, let's say he had he's the best defensive player of the year. Well, he won't be eligible for it because he didn't get to play enough games. They could have suspended him for 24 games and then he would have been eligible.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy.
It's a multi-leveled punishment. It's not just the games and the money, but it's all the accolades that he would have gotten playing a full season. So, man, I hope he learns from it. And you know, this guy is such a beast on that team, man. Every time I watch him, I'm like, man, this dude, he's the most dominant guy on the court when he's playing. So hopefully he gets back and he won't be whipping out his gun on Instagram Live anymore.
No doubt.
All right. Hey, did you get to check out, man, there was this New York case between a podcaster and a rapper. And I think this is a really important case to talk about because a lot of us, even here in LA, we get into these internet beefs, these internet conflict, and it seems like we don't know how to solve the conflict. We don't know how to solve the situation. And what happens is that we're gonna cross paths one day. Guy A is gonna see guy B somewhere, and if they don't address their conflict, what's gonna happen is it's gonna get real nasty, like it got between Troy Ave and Taxstone. And they met up in 2016 at a damn club, and I guess I don't know if they knew they were gonna be there or if it was kind of a surprise, but of course they gotta perform their tough act, and they both ended up pulling out guns, and a shooting happened, and Troy Ave's bodyguard named Banger got killed, and Taxstone was just sentenced to 35 years in prison. And this was just all an online beef, FG. It's getting out of control.
Well, shit, it been out of control, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you know, a lot of people, like you say, they do these internet beefs and they think it's all cool. They forget about it, you know what I mean? You know, not understanding that if you ain't the type of dude that's sitting in the house every day or hiding behind these computers all year long, you know what I mean? Then, bro, some shit can pop off, you know. Alex, you got to realize, man, you know, that like I say, we always held accountable for what we say, man. And in LA, in Compton, and Watson, Long Beach, Linwood, and all things of that nature, you online talking shit, homie, you're going to bump into somebody somewhere. You know what I mean? You know, and just like this, like you say, the tough act got to keep going, and somebody end up dead, man. You know, and Taxstone came out with 35 years on this over an internet beef, homie. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's wild.
Yeah, it says here, Manhattan judge on Tuesday sentenced the rapper and podcaster Taxstone to 35 years in prison following his conviction earlier this year on manslaughter charges over the 2016 fatal shooting of the rapper Troy Ave's bodyguard during a T.I. concert at the Irving Plaza. Taxstone was convicted in March of shooting and killing 33-year-old Banger and seriously injuring 3 others, a crime that prosecutors said stemmed from Taxstone's long-standing feud with rapper Troy Ave, whose real name is Roland Curtis. And what I didn't mention is that Troy Ave actually ended up testifying against Taxstone. So there goes the whole tough man image when you come into court pointing fingers at the person that pulled the gun out on you when you also pulled the gun out as well.
No doubt, but if they would have just ran that fade, Alex, and walked it off, somebody left with a busted lip, somebody left with a black eye, you know what I mean? Then none of these problems would exist right now. You know what I mean? You'll have a loser or a tie or winner or whatever, you know what I mean? You go on about your day, like you say, some of these dudes get into a beef and the first thing they want to do is, start shooting, you know what I mean? And then, like you say, now, Troy Ave, you want to get up there and talk about it now, you know what I mean? So, you should have thought about that shit, and that's what pissed me off, you was there with your crew and put out your gun and you never tried to mend the beef with this guy. I'm not even saying you was wrong because I don't know who was wrong or right or even what the original feud was over. But at the end of the day, man, this is how so much shit, there's a lot of testosterone, especially when you got them homies around, you know what I mean? So say if they was going to in a corporate building going to, do their taxes or do something like that, man, and they bumped into each other on the elevator, how would that would have went? Would y'all would have got down or would y'all have been talking shit about to each other? Sometimes these dudes get these guns, Alex, you know what I mean? And they bigger than, and then next thing you know, when somebody did, because, you let your ego get involved or you let the crowd get involved, you know what I mean? These are the consequences, man. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, Taxstone got 35. Troy Ave got up there and talked about it. It's a lose-lose.
Yeah, and I think Troy Ave is going to get a much lesser sentence for his role in it. And it's a little unfair because he ends up getting he controlled the narrative because he decided to become a witness. He decided to tell the story the way that would benefit him, and it made Taxstone look like the bad guy when I feel like they're both equally bad guys or both equally responsible. But how does one guy come out with 35 years and the other guy just come out with a few years? It's crazy to me.
No, it ain't crazy. You know how it go, man. Whoever had the best story, man, and got up there and told it, got the less time. That's how it's been. That's how it's always been, But like I say, dudes want to be tough and then get up there and then lose their credibility when they get up on that stand. You know what I mean? And, they taking that red jacket. They taking that snitch jacket. They taking that, that jacket now, you know what I mean? And because they not trying to do this time. You ain't trying to do this time, man. Stay out of them beefs or work some shit out. Or most of the time, Alice, the shit ain't even that serious. It's over some words. You know what I mean? It's over somebody or one of us said something about, somebody, you know what I mean? And somebody didn't like it, you know what I mean? Called them on it, But like you say, dudes ain't going to the when dudes getting called out, they not even going to the fades. You know what I mean? So I just look at the tough shit, man, and be like, so they like I said, they both lost on that one.
All right, man. Our final story, man, is about another guy that was talking a lot of tough stuff on the internet. A rapper out of Brooklyn named Casanova. He's done a few interviews here and there. But he got slashed in the Essex County Correctional Facility where he is awaiting sentencing for some federal drug offenses. And some people are judging him. Some people do understand him. And here's my question. Now, I understand when you're in trial, you got to clean up yourself as much as possible. You put on your suit, you put on your glasses, you put your best foot forward while you're in trial. And then you might say certain things that, can you hear?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay. Then you might say some things to the judge, just to help your case along. And I know some people try to distance themselves from the hood only for court reasons. Not that they really don't love the hood no more, but they know that if they say whatever they can say, this might help their case. So Casanova tells the judge, I'm not in the gang anymore. And, don't sentence me so severely. How do you look at that when a person is saying that? I believe he's saying it just for strategy purposes. He doesn't want to get maxed out. He ain't the first one to do that. He ain't the last one. But to get slashed for it once he got to the holding facility, was that severe?
Well, yeah, it was severe. I mean, anytime you get slashed in the face, or anytime you get stabbed, or anytime you get your ass whooped, it's a severe situation. You know what I mean? And the whole thing about it with me is this dude's going to court talk about they not a gang member no more. You know what I mean? Pretty much what they call denouncing the gang. You know what I mean? And they doing this, Alex, and hope to get a lighter sentence. But at the same time, do you realize that the gang is in jail and where you finna be and at the prisons that you finna go? You know what I mean? And I don't get that point. I can understand that you saying you're not a part of the gang no more, or you're not gang banging anymore, but you're always going to be a member, man. And that's what these dudes don't understand. And you getting up there saying that you denounced the gang, for one, I don't believe these people believe you anyway. They know you just trying to get a lighter sentence. They really got you up there making a fool of yourself, homie, because when the homies hear about this, you can't get nothing from us no more. You can't come to our cell no more. You can't be in the cell with me. You can't get no food if you get hungry. If somebody finna jump you, I ain't giving you no knife. I'm not helping you fight. I'm not doing none of that, homie. You denounced the gang. Now, if you come to jail and you don't want to bang per se, like you're not active, actively involved, I get it. But you gonna show up to what we need to show up to, and we gonna handle the jail shit like men, So when these dudes, Alex, go and denounce themselves, what I did hear though is after he got slashed, though, he went and handled his business back and slashed the dude himself. So did you hear about that part?
No, I didn't get that memo.
Yeah, I read that somewhere. I don't correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not 100% true, but I heard this. What I actually read it somewhere. I don't know if it was a credible site, but I heard that after they slashed him, he went back and got on dude back. So if that's the case, I mean that's what it is. But a lot of shit gonna come at that denouncing the gang, especially while you're in jail. You know what I mean?
Well, I heard he was so severely injured. I don't know if he would have been capable of it, but you never know. People find the will and the way to get back. But I got this final clip I want to play real quick regarding what happened to him in the Essex County facility.
Back with an I-Team exclusive. Renewed scrutiny on the escalating violence at the Essex County Correctional Facility after a former New York City rapper who was awaiting sentencing on federal drug charges got slashed in a vicious altercation with another inmate. It happened yesterday afternoon, and investigative reporter Sarah Wallace has inside information.
I should get paid for the work I put in. I'm so Brooklyn.
Former Brooklyn rapper Casanova, whose real name is Caswell Sr., isn't going back to his hometown streets anytime soon. The self-proclaimed blood gang member who pleaded guilty to federal drug conspiracy charges last year was involved in a vicious fight yesterday at the Essex County Correctional Facility in Newark. These internal reports from correction officers say Sr. was slashed with a weapon by another inmate, Ulysses Lugo, and then chased him down with the help of others. We spoke with one officer who responded to the scene.
Inmate Lugo, you couldn't see his face because he was saturated in blood. You couldn't see it at the time because his whole face was saturated in blood and his whole uniform was saturated in blood. Inmate Senior was sitting there and blood was just coming out of his face.
A spokesman for the county told us this minor incident and whether weapons were employed is under investigation. Insiders tell us the unit was not searched last night or this morning, but in a recent interview with me, the director insisted they have implemented enhanced searches.
We're doing the searches 2 shifts a day. I'm doing everything that you can from a correctional administrator handbook done.
And then there's the issue of officer training. Retired Correction Lieutenant Jim Teresi reiterated what we've highlighted in recent stories.
Took a 4-month officer with no academy training, and we put her alone with 64 federal prisoners who she has no idea who they are or what they're there for.
In January, state law will require correction officers to go through the police academy.
You on mute. You still on mute.
Yeah, they're criticizing the administration there in the story there. I'm going to pause it right there. But there's no way you can stop weapons in a correctional facility, FG. I'm sure you know firsthand it is impossible to prevent weapons from being present.
No doubt, man. That's why if you really listen to him, he didn't answer the question. You know what I mean? They asked him, did he search the cell after the situation happened? You know what I mean? He said, well, searches have been done. I'm going by the administrator handbook. Man, he know what time it is. You know what I mean? This shit happens all the time. Just happened to be a public dude. So they found out, shit happened all the time and it never, hit the streets, besides to the people. So, but at the same time, man, like I say, man, Alex, to be honest with you, I don't think though if him getting into it with dude was because of the denouncing the gang though. You know what I mean? I think they threw that in there, Alex, they threw it in there, but they didn't say that's because why it happened. You know what I mean? So let me be clear on that part. I did notice when I was reading, they kept it separate. So I can't say to somebody because he denounced the gang, that's why somebody did. He could have had some other beef with somebody, or it was another situation that somebody wanted to get at him. And but at the same time, man, like I said, I've seen this happen, plenty of times for various reasons, but I could tell you this, that the prison start operating under normal operating procedure shortly after.
Yeah, I think that I listened to this story before, and I think listening to it right now, it seems like the guy that did the stabbing, Lugo, did get stabbed back, like you said.
Yeah, no doubt. I thought I heard that. Yeah.
So, the last thing I wanted to mention is that I guess what's his name, Casanova. He pled guilty because check this out. I was looking at the indictment. And the indictment actually had his name listed on there as facing a life sentence, along with a whole bunch of other guys. So his name is Caswell Sr. That's Casanova, and the max term imprisonment for what he was looking at was life in prison, man. And I mean, I don't really think selling drugs on the streets, whatever he was doing, I don't care if he had a bird, I don't care if it's two birds. How do the feds justify trying to pass out these life sentences?
Well, you know what? Actually, it's a terminology, Alex. You know what I mean? Because it also says it's a max term. You know what I mean? My indictment came with a 10 to life. On it. And the first time my grandmother actually came to one of my court dates, they stated that in life. Your Honor, this guy is looking at a sentence between 10 and life. His statute is a 10 to life, and all she heard was the life. You know what I mean? So these guys can get less, depending on what their role was and the situation. Like I said, I'm not familiar with the whole scene, but it's a lot of co-defendants on that case, man. That's a lot of people, So and I don't know what Casanova's role was in the crime itself, but you know what I mean? I believe that they can come out with less than a life sentence if it ain't no murder. If they don't specifically have a murder on their case. I know one of the guys do, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, he pled guilty, and it says here that he's facing a max of 60 years, which he probably not going to get 60 years, but he's definitely going to do some time, and his rap career is pretty much going to be put to a halt for however long he's going to be in prison. And this is another guy that was tough talking on the internet. And it seemed like he was making his money as a rapper, but obviously he was supplementing his income by drug trafficking.
No doubt, unfortunately, the way these prices is, how high its cost of living is out here, man. I feel you got to supplement it, man. But, I guess they just got caught up in a big ring, a big sting, man. And now they looking at a bunch of time. So, I hope they come out the best, man. Like I say, this ain't no, the drugs and shit like that, man. I don't think people should even get that kind of time off drugs. Me personally, you didn't get caught with a warehouse full or, I just think the time that they're giving out is ridiculous, Alex.
All right, man. Tell the people where they can find you, and you just put up some new content. Let us know.
Yeah, man, I'm back at it on FG Unleashed, man. I got 2 brand new videos up there, man. Come over there on YouTube, the FG Unleashed, check it out. Come on Instagram, FGeneral1. I'm ramping this thing back up, man. It's summertime, let's get cracking. And where you at over there, Alex?
You can find me at Alex Alonso 101 on all social media platforms, Twitter and Instagram. Shout out to the podcast listeners listening to us on Spotify, iHeart, Google, and Apple. And if you're on that Apple podcast listening right now, make sure you leave us a question and a rating, and we'll be sure to tap back at with you. with a good answer on the next episode. And thanks for listening to another fire episode of Streets and Scholars. All right, man. I know you got to run.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It's just I gotta run.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just end it here. I want to thank all the people in the chat for checking out another episode. But we're out.